Commander Jake Morrison rubbed his tired eyes and looked out at the dark space around Europa. The ice moon of Jupiter spun slowly below his station. He had been watching the deep space monitors for 6 hours straight. Nothing ever happened out here, just endless black space and distant stars. The coffee in his cup had gone cold hours ago. Jake was about to take another sip when the main computer started beeping. The sound was loud and urgent. Jake had never heard it before in his 3 years at the station. Dr. Lisa Parker rushed into the control room. Her hair was messy and she still wore her sleep clothes. The beeping had woken her up from her small room down the hall. "What is that noise?" she asked. Jake stared at his screen. Numbers and graphs were flashing red. "I think we are getting a signal from deep space, but this is impossible. Nothing should be out there." Ryan Davis ran in next. He was the communications expert on the station. His job was to listen for signals from Earth and other human stations. He had never seen anything like this before. "Commander, this signal is coming from very far away. Much farther than any human ship has ever gone," Ryan said. His voice was shaking with excitement. Lisa sat down at her computer. She was a scientist who studied alien languages. Earth had never found any aliens before, but Lisa had spent her whole life preparing just in case. "Let me hear it," she said. Ryan played the signal through the speakers. Strange sounds filled the room. It was not like any human language they had ever heard. The sounds were musical but sad. There were clicks and whistles mixed with something that sounded almost like crying. "This is definitely not human," Lisa said. She was typing fast on her computer. "The patterns are too complex. This is a real alien language." Jake felt his heart beating fast. First contact with aliens was something humans had dreamed about for hundreds of years. But this did not feel like a happy moment. The sounds coming from the speakers were full of fear and pain. For the next 4 hours, Lisa worked to understand the alien message. She used every computer program and language tool she had. Ryan helped by cleaning up the signal and making it clearer. Jake watched and waited, knowing that this moment would change everything for humanity. Finally, Lisa looked up from her computer. Her face was pale. "I have translated part of the message, Jake. This is not good news." She played the translated message on her computer. A calm computer voice spoke the alien words in English. "To anyone who can hear this message, we are the Philathi people. Our worlds are dying. Something terrible is destroying everything we have built. They call themselves the Devourers. They eat entire planets. They turn all life into more of themselves." Jake felt cold. Lisa continued playing the message. "We are peaceful people. We build and trade. We do not make weapons of war. Our ships cannot fight these monsters. They are too strong and too many. We have run from world to world, but they always follow us." The message paused. Then the computer voice continued, and Jake could hear the sadness even in the translation. "This is our last free world, our home planet of Viridian Prime. The Devourers will reach us in 7 of your months. We will fight, but we will lose. If there is anyone out there who cares about life, please remember us. Please remember that the Philathi tried to be good." The message ended with a series of numbers. Ryan quickly wrote them down. "These are space coordinates," he said. "The signal came from the Kepler 442 star system. That is 47 light-years from Earth." Jake stood up and walked to the window. Outside, Europa's ice surface reflected the light from Jupiter. Earth was just a tiny blue dot somewhere in the darkness. His small monitoring station had just received the most important message in human history. "Lisa, are you sure this is real? This is not some kind of joke or test?" Jake asked. Lisa shook her head. "The quantum signatures in this signal are impossible to fake with any technology we know. This message traveled through space for 47 years to reach us. The aliens who sent it are either dead now, or they will be dead soon." Jake picked up his communication device. He needed to call Earth Defense Command right away. Admiral Sam Rodriguez would not believe this report, but Jake had to try. The call took several minutes to connect through the relay stations. When Admiral Rodriguez appeared on the screen, he looked angry at being woken up. "Morrison, this better be important." "I was sleeping," the Admiral said. Sir, we have received a distress signal from an alien species. They are asking for help, Jake said. Admiral Rodriguez was quiet for a long moment. Then he laughed. Morrison, have you been drinking? Alien distress signals? This is not a science fiction movie. Sir, I am sending you all the data now. Doctor, Parker has confirmed that this is a real alien language. The signal contains quantum signatures that prove it traveled 47 light-years through space. The Admiral's face changed as he looked at the data on his computer. Dear God, if this is real. It is real, sir, and there is more. These aliens say something called the Devourers is destroying their civilization. If they can travel between star systems, Earth might be in danger too. Admiral Rodriguez was quiet again. Jake could see him thinking hard about what this meant. Finally, the Admiral spoke. Morrison, I am sending Captain Tony Martinez and a scout ship to your location. You will brief him on everything you have learned. If these aliens are real, and if there really is something out there destroying planets, then humanity needs to know about it. The call ended. Jake looked at Lisa and Ryan. They had just delivered news that would change human history forever. In a few hours, the governments of Earth would know that humans were not alone in the universe. They would also know that something terrible was coming. Outside the window, the stars looked different now. They were no longer empty points of light. Somewhere out there, an entire civilization was dying. And the thing that was killing them might be heading toward Earth next. Jake had spent his whole career watching empty space. Now he wondered if that empty space was about to become very crowded, with things humanity was not ready to face. Captain Tony Martinez stood on the bridge of the UES Retribution as it dropped out of hyperspace. The journey to the Kepler 442 system had taken 3 weeks. Now he was looking at something that made his blood run cold. 3 planets in the system were completely dark. No lights, no signs of life, nothing. They looked like giant rocks floating in space. But the worst part was what surrounded them. Huge objects moved around the dead planets like metal moons. Each one was the size of a small city. They had strange shapes with long arms that reached down to the planet surfaces. Captain Martinez had seen many things in his 20 years of space travel, but nothing like this. Dear God, whispered Lieutenant Chris Brown, the Marine officer standing next to him. What are those things? Those must be the Devourers, said Amy Johnson, the ship's technology expert. She was studying the readings on her computer. Captain, these objects are not made of metal. They are alive. The whole structure is some kind of living creature. Captain Martinez ordered his ship to hide behind a large asteroid. The Retribution was built for scouting, not fighting. If those huge creatures noticed them, they would be in serious trouble. Amy, can you scan one of those things without them seeing us? He asked. Amy worked at her computer for several minutes. Captain, I am picking up very weak signals from the 4th planet. I think there might be survivors there. But the signals are fading fast. Chris, get your team ready. We are going to take a small shuttle and try to reach that planet. We need to know what we are dealing with. The shuttle trip to the 4th planet took 6 hours. They had to fly very carefully to avoid being seen by the giant creatures. When they finally reached the planet, they found something amazing. The planet was covered with beautiful cities. Tall towers reached into the sky, connected by bridges that looked like works of art. But many of the buildings were damaged, huge. Holes had been torn in the sides of towers. Some bridges had collapsed completely. The shuttle landed near one of the cities. Captain Martinez, Lieutenant Brown, and Amy Johnson put on their spacesuits and stepped outside. The air on the planet was breathable, but they wanted to be safe. They had not walked far when they heard a noise. It sounded like footsteps, but different from human footsteps. Captain Martinez signaled for everyone to stop and listen. A figure appeared from behind a damaged building. It was clearly not human. The creature was tall and thin, with 4 arms and skin that changed colors like a rainbow. It had large eyes that seemed to glow with their own light. The alien creature stopped when it saw the humans. For a long moment, nobody moved. Then the alien made a series of musical sounds. It was the same type of sounds they had heard in the distress message. Amy Johnson stepped forward slowly. She had brought a translation device based on Dr. Parker's work. She spoke into the device and it made the same musical sounds back to the alien. "We are humans from Earth. We received your message asking for help." The alien's eyes grew even brighter. It made excited sounds and gestured for them to follow. They walked through the damaged city until they reached a large building that looked like it might be some kind of government center. Inside, they found more aliens. About 50 of them were gathered around computers and communication devices. When the aliens saw the humans, they all started making excited musical sounds at once. One alien, who seemed to be the leader, approached them. Through the translation device, it spoke. "I am Zenthar, military commander of the Velathi people. You are from the Deathworld." "Deathworld?" asked Captain Martinez. "Your planet Earth. We have studied your radio signals for many years. Your world is so dangerous that we cannot understand how any life survives there. Earthquakes, storms, volcanoes, poisonous air. To us, you are creatures from a death world." Lieutenant Brown laughed. "Earth is dangerous, but we learn to live with it. That is just normal life for us." Zenthar seemed amazed by this. "Normal? You fight your own planet every day and call it normal? No wonder you answered our call for help. Only death world. Creatures would fly toward danger instead of away from it." Amy Johnson asked the most important question. "Can you tell us about the Devourers? What exactly are they?" Zenthar's colors changed to darker shades. Through the translator, his voice sounded very sad. "The Devourers are not like us. They are not individuals. They are all part of one giant mind. Each creature is like a finger, on a hand controlled by the same brain." He led them to a large window. Outside, they could see one of the giant creatures in the distance. Its long arms were reaching down to the planet's surface, pulling up trees and dirt. "They eat everything." Zenthar continued. "Plants, animals, even the dirt and rocks, they turn it all into more of themselves. When they finish with a planet, it is completely empty. Then they move to the next world." "How do they travel between star systems?" asked Captain Martinez. "They build ships from the materials they harvest. The ships are alive, like everything else they make. They can grow bigger or smaller as needed. They can repair themselves if damaged. And they never stop growing stronger." Lieutenant Brown studied the creature through binoculars. "How do you fight something like that?" "We do not fight," said Zenthar. "The Velathi are peaceful people. We build beautiful cities and create art. We trade with other worlds and share knowledge. We have never made weapons of war. Our ships are for exploration and trade, not battle." "But you must have some kind of defenses," said Amy. "We have energy, shields and some basic weapons, but nothing that can stop the Devourers. They are too many and too strong. We have been running from world to world for 30 years. Every time we build a new home, they find us." Captain Martinez felt a chill as he realized what this meant. If they consume everything on a planet, they must need enormous amounts of food to keep growing. How many worlds have they destroyed? Zenthar's colors became even darker. "In our galaxy, we estimate they have consumed over 1,000 worlds. Each world makes them stronger. Each world gives them materials to build more ships and more creatures. And now they are coming here," said Lieutenant Brown. "Yes. This is our last world. In less than 6 months, they will arrive. We will fight with everything we have, but we know we will lose. Our children will never see another sunrise." Amy Johnson was taking notes on her computer. "Captain, if these creatures are coming here, they might not stop with this system. They might continue toward Earth." Captain Martinez nodded grimly. He had come here to gather information, but now he realized they were looking at Earth's future. If the Devourers could destroy an entire civilization, what would they do to humanity? "Zenthar, we need to learn everything we can about how these creatures work. Our people need to prepare for what might be coming." The alien commander looked at him with what might have been hope. "You will help us fight?" "We will do what we can, but first we need to understand our enemy." As they talked, Captain Martinez realized that humanity was about to face its greatest challenge. The peaceful Velathi had been running from the Devourers for decades. But humans were different. Humans came from a death world, and they had learned to fight back against anything that threatened them. The question was whether human weapons and human determination would be enough to stop creatures that had already consumed 1,000 worlds. Admiral Sam Rodriguez stood in the main command center on Earth, looking at the biggest military fleet humanity had ever assembled. Ships filled the space around Earth like a metal cloud. Each ship was loaded with the most powerful weapons humans had ever built. The news from Captain Martinez had changed everything. The governments of Earth had worked together for the first time in decades. Every nation had sent their best ships and soldiers. This was not just about saving the Velothi aliens. This was about stopping the Devourers before they reached Earth. General Kate Sullivan walked up to the Admiral. She was in charge of all the Marine soldiers who would fight on the alien worlds. Admiral, the troops are ready. We have 15,000 Marines equipped with the best armor and weapons we have. Good, said Admiral Rodriguez. What about the new weapons? The plasma cannons are working perfectly. The railguns can punch holes through solid metal. And the antimatter bombs? She paused. Sir, each one of those bombs can destroy an entire city. Are we really going to use them? Admiral Rodriguez looked out at the fleet. The biggest ship was the UES Vengeance, a battleship the size of a skyscraper. It carried enough firepower to blow up a small moon. Next to it was the destroyer UES Savage, bristling with guns and missile launchers. General, we are fighting creatures that have destroyed 1,000 worlds. We cannot hold back. We use every weapon we have. Captain Danny Foster was in command of the 7th Fleet Battle Group. His ships were the fastest and most heavily armed in the fleet. He had been chosen to lead the first attack against the Devourers. Captain Steve Hughes commanded the fighter squadrons. His pilots flew small, fast ships loaded with antimatter warheads. Each warhead was powerful enough to level a mountain. Commander Jake Morrison had been promoted and put in charge of working with the Velothi aliens. He had studied everything Captain Martinez had learned about their new allies. The human fleet was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Other species built ships for exploration or trade. Humans built ships for war. Even the smallest human fighter carried more weapons than most alien battleships. Lieutenant Colonel Nancy Wright stood before her Marines in the main assembly hall. Thousands of soldiers in powered armor listened to her speech. Soldiers, the aliens call us Deathworlders. They think our planet Earth is so dangerous that nothing should be able to live there. They are right. Earth tried to kill our ancestors every single day. Earthquakes, volcanoes, hurricanes, diseases, predators. Our world taught us to fight or die. The Marines cheered. They had trained their whole lives for combat, but this would be different from any battle humans had ever fought. These Devourers think they are the ultimate predators. They think they can consume anything they want. But they have never faced a species that sees war as evolution. They have never fought creatures from a death world. The cheering got louder. Lieutenant Colonel Wright raised her hand for silence. We are not just fighting for the Velothi. We are fighting for Earth. We are fighting for every human child who deserves to grow up free. These monsters want to eat our world, but we are going to teach them something. We are going to show them what happens when you threaten a Deathworlder's home. The fleet departed from Earth 3 days later. The journey to the Kepler 442 system would take 2 weeks using the fastest hyperspace engines humanity had built. When they arrived at Viridian Prime, the battle had already started. Dozens of the huge devourer creatures were attacking the planet. Their long arms reached down from space, tearing chunks out of the planet's surface. The Velothi had put up a brave fight. Their ships fired energy beams at the devourers, but the weapons barely scratched the massive creatures. The alien monsters just absorbed the damage and kept attacking. Captain Foster's battle group jumped out of hyperspace right in the middle of the fight. The human ships immediately opened fire with everything they had. The first devourer creature they hit simply disappeared. The concentrated plasma fire from 3 human destroyers completely vaporized a creature the size of a city. The explosion lit up space like a new sun. The other devourers stopped attacking the planet and turned toward the human ships. They had never faced weapons this powerful before. All ships, this is Foster. Target the biggest ones first. Show these things what human firepower looks like. The UES Vengeance fired its main railgun. The metal projectile traveled at nearly the speed of light and punched completely through a devourer creature. The alien monster split in half and began falling toward the planet. Captain Steve Hughes led his fighter squadrons in attack runs against the smaller devourer ships. The fighters were too small and fast for the alien creatures to hit. They zipped between the monsters, dropping antimatter bombs that created brilliant explosions. Commander Morrison watched the battle from the command ship. He had never seen anything like it. The Velothi had been fighting these creatures for 30 years and barely managed to slow them down. The humans had destroyed 6 of them in the first 10 minutes. "Commander," said his communications officer, "we are getting a message from the Velothi planet. They want to know who we are and how we are winning." Morrison smiled. "Tell them the Deathworlders have arrived." But the battle was far from over. More devourer creatures were arriving from the outer parts of the star system. These new ones were different. They had watched the first attack and were adapting their tactics. The new devourers moved faster and attacked in groups. Instead of trying to absorb the human weapons, they dodged them. They had learned from watching their companions die. "Admiral," reported Captain Foster, "the enemy is changing their strategy. They are getting smarter." Admiral Rodriguez had expected this. The intelligence report said the devourers were all part of one giant mind. They would learn from every battle and become harder to defeat. "All ships, prepare for extended combat. This fight is just getting started." General Sullivan's Marines were loaded into assault ships, ready to board the devourer creatures if needed. They had trained for fighting in space, on planets, and inside alien ships. Their powered armor could survive in any environment. Lieutenant Colonel Wright checked her weapons one more time. Her plasma rifle could cut through solid steel. Her armor could protect her from radiation, poison gas, and the vacuum of space. She was ready for whatever the devourers could throw at her. But as she looked out at the massive alien creatures, she wondered if even human weapons would be enough. The devourers had consumed 1,000 worlds. They had grown stronger with each victory. The humans had superior firepower, but the aliens had superior numbers. More devourer ships were arriving every hour. Soon, the humans would be outnumbered, 100 to 1. "This is what we trained for," Wright told her Marines. "Earth is counting on us. Every human who ever lived on our dangerous planet gave us the strength to fight this battle. We do not surrender. We do not retreat. We are Deathworlders, and we protect our own." The battle for Viridian Prime was about to become the most important fight in human history. The outcome would decide whether humanity remained free or became food for the galaxy's ultimate predators. The battle for Viridian Prime had been going on for 3 days. Captain Tony Martinez stood on the bridge of his ship, watching the endless fight in space around the planet. Dead devourer creatures floated everywhere, but more kept coming. "Captain," said his communications officer, "we have destroyed 47 of the large creatures, but our scanners show at least 200 more approaching the system." Martinez felt tired. The human fleet had fought non-stop for 3 days. They were running low on ammunition and fuel. Worse, the devourers were learning from every battle. The alien creatures had started working together in new ways. They no longer attacked alone. Instead, they moved in groups, covering each other and sharing damage. When one creature was hurt, others would surround it and help it heal. Lieutenant Chris Brown was leading a team of Marines on a boarding mission inside one of the smaller devourer creatures. The inside of the alien ship was like nothing he had ever seen. The walls were alive and moved like muscles. Strange fluids dripped from the ceiling. "This is Brown to command," he said into his radio. "We are inside the creature, but it is trying to heal itself around us. The walls are closing in." Chris and his Marines wore powered armor that made them strong enough to punch through metal. Their plasma weapons could cut through almost anything, but fighting inside a living ship was different from any training they had received. "Sir, the creature is trying to digest us," reported Sergeant Mike Peters. "The walls are secreting some kind of acid. Our armor is holding, but not for long." Chris led his team deeper into the creature. They needed to find the central nervous system, the brain that controlled the whole ship. If they could destroy it, the creature would die. They fought through corridors that tried to crush them and rooms that filled with poisonous gas. The devourer creature was using every defense it had, but the Marines kept moving forward. Finally, they reached a large chamber in the center of the ship. Inside was something that looked like a giant brain made of crystal and metal. It pulsed, with strange lights, and made sounds like screaming. "That has to be it," said Chris. He pulled out his biggest explosive charge. "Everyone get back." The explosion tore through the chamber. The crystal brain shattered into thousands of pieces. Immediately, the whole ship began to shake and convulse. The walls stopped moving and the acidic fluid stopped flowing. "Brown to command, the creature is dead. We are heading back to extraction point." But as the Marines fought their way out of the dying ship, they discovered something troubling. The other devourer creatures had felt their companion die. They were all turning toward the human ships with what looked like anger. Dr. Lisa Parker was working with Velati scientists on the planet below. They had been studying samples of devourer tissue that the Marines had brought back. What they found was both amazing and terrifying. "The creatures are not just alive," Lisa explained to Commander Morrison over the radio. "They are incredibly advanced biological machines. They can rebuild themselves from almost nothing. They can adapt to new threats in hours instead of years." "What does that mean for our weapons?" asked Morrison. "It means they are learning to resist our plasma fire and railgun attacks. Each time we kill one, the others become a little bit harder to kill." The Velati scientist working with Lisa was named Coral. She had been studying the devourers for longer than any human. Through the translation device, she shared what she had learned. "The devourers are not evil in the way you understand evil. They are hungry. They consume worlds because they must eat to survive, but there is something else. They are afraid." "Afraid of what?" asked Lisa. "Something worse than them. Something that drove them from their original home. They eat worlds to make themselves strong enough to fight this other threat." This information changed everything. Lisa immediately contacted Admiral Rodriguez with the news. "Admiral, we may be fighting refugees, not conquerors. The devourers are running from something even more dangerous." Admiral Rodriguez was quiet for a long moment. "Dr. Parker, even if that is true, they are still trying to eat our worlds. We have to stop them." Meanwhile, Captain Martinez was leading a desperate mission to one of the largest devourer creatures. This one was different from the others. It was twice as big and seemed to be giving orders to the smaller creatures. "This must be a command ship," Martinez told his team. "If we can capture it, we might be able to communicate with the devourers directly." Amy Johnson, the technology expert, had developed new equipment based on what they had learned from the previous battles. "Captain, I think I can tap into their communication system, but we need to get close to the central brain." The mission was extremely dangerous. The command creature was protected by dozens of smaller ships. Getting inside would require fighting through layers of defenses. Martinez took a small team, including Amy Johnson and a group of Marines. They used stealth technology to approach the creature without being detected. Once inside, they found that the command ship was even more complex than the others. It had multiple brains connected by streams of living metal. The walls showed images of different star systems, like a three-dimensional map of the galaxy. "Amy, can you connect to their system?" asked Martinez. Amy worked with her equipment for several minutes. "Captain, I am getting something. It is like listening to a conversation between giants." Suddenly, the images on the walls changed. They showed a view of space from the creature's perspective. Martinez realized they were seeing through the aliens' eyes. Then something unexpected happened. The creature began to communicate with them directly, not through words, but through images and emotions projected into their minds. Martinez saw visions of the devourer's original home. It had been a beautiful world with crystal cities and flowing rivers. But then something terrible had arrived. Dark shapes that consumed light itself. Creatures that made the devourers look small and weak. The devourers had been forced to flee their home. They had learned to consume other worlds not because they were evil, but because they needed to become strong enough to fight the dark creatures that had destroyed their civilization. "Captain," whispered Amy, "they are not the ultimate enemy. They are just trying to survive like us." But then the visions changed. The creature showed them images of Earth, It had been studying human radio signals and learning about human civilization. It saw Earth as just another world to consume, another source of strength. The creature did not understand that humans were different. It did not know that Earth had created a species capable of fighting back against anything. Martinez made a decision that would change the course of the war. Instead of trying to destroy the creature's brain, he tried to communicate with it. "Are not like the other species you have encountered." He projected his thoughts toward the alien intelligence. "We are from a death world. We know how to fight, we know how to survive, maybe we can help each other." The creature was shocked. It had never encountered a species that could communicate with it directly. It had never met creatures that were not afraid of it. "You are from the dangerous world," the creature's thoughts replied. "You are the ones who fight their own planet and win. You are Deathworlders." "Yes," Martinez replied. "And we are offering you something better than consuming worlds. We are offering you alliance." The conversation was interrupted by alarms throughout the ship. More devourer creatures were arriving, and they were not pleased that humans had infiltrated their command ship. The battle was about to enter a new phase, but now both sides knew that the real enemy was still out there, somewhere in the dark spaces between stars. Admiral Rodriguez stood on the bridge of the UES Vengeance, watching the largest space battle in human history unfold before him. The main Devourer fleet had arrived from deep space. Thousands of the alien creatures filled the darkness between stars, all heading toward Earth. "Admiral," reported his communications officer, "Captain Martinez is requesting permission to try his alliance plan." Rodriguez looked at the tactical display. The human fleet was outnumbered 10-1. Even with their superior weapons, this battle would cost thousands of human lives. But Martinez's plan was risky in a different way. "Give him permission. This point, we need every option we can get." In the command center of the Devourer ship, Captain Martinez was still connected to the alien intelligence. The creature called itself the Prime Consciousness, and it controlled all the other Devourers in the fleet. "Your species offers alliance," the Prime Consciousness communicated through thoughts and images. "But why should we trust Deathworlders? Your kind destroys everything it touches." Martinez thought carefully about his response. "We destroy our enemies, yes, but we protect our friends. The Velati called for help, and we came. We could have ignored their message and stayed safe on Earth." Amy Johnson was monitoring the communication link. "Captain, more human ships are arriving. General Sullivan is here with the UES Ragnarok." The Ragnarok was humanity's most powerful weapon. It carried a quantum singularity generator that could create artificial black holes. The weapon had never been tested in battle, but the scientists said it could destroy an entire fleet. "Prime consciousness," Martinez continued. "Look at what my species has built. We created weapons that can crack moons and bombs that can destroy cities. But we also build hospitals and schools. We make art and music. We do not consume everything. We touch." The alien intelligence was studying the human fleet through sensors throughout its body. It could see the massive weapons, but it could also detect the life support systems keeping humans alive in space. It noticed that human ships had medical bays and recreation areas. "Your ships carry healing equipment," the Prime Consciousness observed. "Why do warriors need healing facilities?" "Because we value life. We fight to protect life, not to consume it. When this battle is over, we will heal our wounded and remember our dead. That is what makes us different from the dark creatures that destroyed your world." Meanwhile, General Sullivan was preparing the Ragnarok for battle. The quantum weapon was charging slowly, drawing power from 3 fusion reactors. When it fired, it would create a black hole that would swallow everything within 100 kilometers. "General," her weapons officer reported, "the singularity generator is at 50% charge. We need 10 more minutes for full power. Keep charging. If the alliance talks fail, we use the Ragnarok." On Viridian Prime, Dr. Lisa Parker was working frantically with the Velati scientists. They had discovered something important about the dark creatures that had driven the Devourers from their home. "Commander Morrison," she radioed to the fleet, "we have analyzed the Devourer memory fragments. The dark creatures they fear are not from this galaxy. They are invaders from somewhere else entirely. Commander Morrison was coordinating the battle from his command ship. What does that mean, Doctor? It means the Devourers were the first line of defense against something worse. When they fled, they left our galaxy unprotected. If we destroy them now, we will be defenseless when the dark creatures arrive. This information reached Captain Martinez just as the Prime Consciousness was preparing to make its final decision about the Alliance. Prime Consciousness, we have learned about the dark creatures. We know they are coming to our galaxy. If we work together, we can be ready for them. The alien intelligence paused. It had been alone with its fear for so long that the idea of having allies seemed impossible. Deathworlders, it finally responded. Your species is young and small. How can you fight creatures that we could not defeat? Martinez smiled. Because we are crazy enough to try. Your species runs from planet to planet, always looking for more food and more strength. Our species runs toward danger, not away from. Yet we have been fighting impossible odds since we first walked upright on our death world. The battle around them was reaching its climax. Human fighters were engaging smaller devourer ships while the larger vessels exchanged devastating fire. But neither side was trying to completely destroy the other. They were testing each other's strength. Captain Steve Hughes led his fighter squadron through a formation of devourer ships. Instead of attacking with full force, they demonstrated their speed and maneuverability. The human fighters danced between the alien creatures, showing that they could strike anywhere at any time. The Devourers responded by showing their own abilities. They merged together to form larger ships, then split apart into smaller, faster units. They demonstrated that they could heal from almost any damage and adapt to any threat. This is not a battle, realized Lieutenant Colonel Wright as she watched from her assault ship. This is a job interview. Both sides are showing what they can do. The Prime Consciousness had been observing the human tactics. It was impressed by their coordination and their willingness to sacrifice for each other. But it was even more impressed by their creativity. Your species does not fight like any we have encountered, it told Martinez. You use strategy, not just force. You adapt your tactics moment by moment. You fight like the dark creatures but with honor. Is that enough for an alliance? Asked Martinez. The Prime Consciousness was quiet for a long moment. Then it sent a signal to all the Devourer ships in the fleet. The alien creatures stopped fighting and began moving into defensive formations around the human ships. We accept your alliance, Deathworlders. But we must test it immediately. Our sensors detect something approaching from the edge of the galaxy. The dark creatures have found us. Admiral Rodriguez received the news with mixed feelings. The immediate threat was over, but a larger one was beginning. All ships stand down from combat. Prepare for new mission parameters. We are no longer fighting the Devourers. We are fighting beside them. General Sullivan powered down the Ragnarok's quantum weapon. Admiral, what are our orders? General, we are going to do what humans do best. We are going to teach the galaxy how to fight back. Over the following months, something unprecedented happened. Human military bases were established on Valafi worlds. Devourer creatures worked alongside human engineers to build new types of weapons. The Valafi provided their advanced technology and peaceful wisdom. Commander Morrison found himself in charge of training programs where alien species learned human military tactics. The gentle Valafi learned how to fight for their homes. The powerful Devourers learned how to fight with strategy instead of just hunger. Captain Martinez was promoted to Admiral and given command of the first mixed species fleet in galactic history. His ships carried human weapons, Devourer regeneration, technology, and Valathi defensive systems. Dr. Lisa Parker established the Galaxy Defense Research Center, where scientists from 3 species worked together to prepare for the coming invasion. The dark creatures were still years away, but when they arrived, they would find something they had never encountered before. They would find a galaxy that had learned to fight back, taught by creatures from a death world who had never learned how to surrender. Admiral Martinez stood on the bridge of his new flagship, watching human children play with young Valafi in the observation deck while Devourer offspring learned human games. The Deathworlders had not just responded with firepower. They had created something entirely new, a galaxy united in defiance of the dark. The age of running and hiding was over. The age of the Deathworld Alliance had begun,